Hello, thanks for watching another Sunday case study. We're doing Ray Liotta, the late Ray Liotta. He always wanted to be a gangster when he grew up, and he got his wish. Immortalised as Henry Hill, is it, in Goodfellas? Cracking film. So here we have a fire hand, typical of inspirational Hollywood actors. Fire hands are very sociable. They do what needs to be done in the heat of the moment. Pun intended, but unintentional. So, quite often they'll say things that are quite blunt. They'll say things that need to be said when others won't. They'll do things that need to be done when others are a bit apprehensive about the consequences. Fire hands are destructive in that way, but sometimes necessarily. And man has been obsessed with fire since forever. And this is why fire hands tend to inspire us on stage, I think, because they're constantly moving. They're constantly pushing the other elements around. They are sometimes the one sort of catalyst that keeps things moving in certain situations. So, and this is why they inspire us, I think. And certainly this is, true for Ray. Inspired a generation in a golden age of film. So I've been looking at pictures of Ray's palms. I mean, I've already done a reading for Ray online on Quora quite some time ago, and I thought I'd make a video version of it. So I'm just kind of gone over what I've written and what I've said, and I'm making a video version of it. So Ray's right hand Jupiter they're both short. Both his Jupiter fingers are short, very short. They don't quite reach halfway of the first phalange of Saturn, and Apollo is long. So we've got a clear inferiority complex, although his Jupiter on his right hand is a touch longer than on his left. So it shows, whilst his happiness has been thwarted by his success, weirdly, it's so that with people with an inferiority complex, the more they succeed, the further the goal seems to get away from them. And it's sort of like this spiral of unhappiness. But as I say, his Jupiter finger has gotten a bit longer on the right hand there. So it does show that he's managed to work through that inferiority complex to some degree. So this short Jupiter finger, you can see it's also the Mercury kind of leaning away, the head and the lifeline that are tied for quite some time as well. These are all signs of shyness, and I mean the head and the lifeline are tied together from the age of about until 19. That's where he truly claimed his independence. Most people, it's a bit younger than that. And it can lead to this he has a need for sort of isolation, to be alone. And when you have Jupiter and Saturn that lean towards Apollo like this, and certainly with a short Jupiter, his ego shelters beneath his conscience, and a need to create a positive sort of self-image is certainly required to help build his ego. And they both lean towards straight Apollo. Apollo does sort of ever so slightly lean in towards Saturn as well, which is healthy. It's showing that he's thinking of others. He's not thinking about himself, but at the same time, there needs to be a bit of a balance there. He's not sort of his ego has been dampened. So his ideas, his ideas and his ego and his self-image as well all kind of seek refuge under this his strongest qualities, which are Apollo, and that's his creative abilities. And we have here on Jupiter the third phalange is quite sort of stout, and that's very common with an inferiority complex, this need to compensate with likely womanizing, and that's quite evident as well with Mercury. It's certainly, Mercury is longer on the right hand than on the left hand, which shows that he's grown he's strengthened his abilities to communicate in relationships and friendships. He's strengthened his abilities to express himself, which is in line with his career, of course. And it's a relatively straight Mercury. There's it's healthy, but at the same time there probably is a bit of a tendency to turn towards drinking or drugs or womanizing, which is just so common with those with an inferiority complex. And I think that he was probably the sort of person who, you've got Mercury it's fairly separate from the rest. I believe he was a closed book, very level-headed guy. I don't think he let anyone in really unless they were only those closest to him. And when you look at the backs of the hands, you can see, you get a clearer image as to just how short Jupiter is there. And that's the right hand that's even shorter on the left. Mercury, as I say, it's longer on the right hand here as well, which is a nice sign, and it's straight as well. His sense of expression and communication is healthy, it's good, it's strong. However, his left hand Mercury, as I say, it being shorter, let's have a look. I mean, it's a rubbish image, I can appreciate, but it is shorter than on the right, and this shows that what he was given, what he inherited, how he started out life with how he felt. With an elementary hand like this with a very straight headline and a short, low-set Mercury on the left and on the right, it shows that he had difficulty in his early bonding periods. It's child-related difficulties, CRD in psychology, and I think he almost certainly had a bit of a fixation with parental figures. So his headline, as I say, it being straight. I can't seem to see the double headline in this image. Yeah, okay. I'll have to relook at that. So I've not seen it in any other image. Perhaps it's just that one image. Yeah. Okay. So, this kind of straight headline you've got here it was hugely desirable in ancient Rome. It's the kind of headline that emperors would look for in commanders when promoting their military staff. I mean, ideally you'd want it a little bit longer, but that's a nice straight headline. Someone with a good emotional constitution, keep a level head when things get tough, and able to sort of plan ahead. An Apollo ending headline certainly shows someone who is capable in an artistic field. Again, he's obviously an actor. And his Jupiter mount's quite large, so that's indicative of his ambitions, but also, so not sure what I just paused there by accident. So his Jupiter mount is quite large, and that indicates ambition, but it also indicates possible liver issues, and that might tie in with this compensation, this drinking, perhaps. He could well have been, partial to the old bottle. There we go. That's a much better image. You can see much more clearly now the differences and what I'm saying here. You've got his left hand heart and headline are very close together, whereas on his right the space in between is much larger, and this shows that again, with his abilities to express in the current day or his latter days had increased. He grew as a person in his abilities to express and communicate and be open with others and let other people in, and his ideas as well. He was originally he was fairly narrow-minded in this point of view, but then he became much more open to new ideas and concepts. And you can really see it here in this image, just how tied his life and his headline are on his left hand for so long. They're the same line. It's just, and you can really get a sense as his emotional stability there as well. I mean, look at that. It's just the same line until it it tears away. And I find that fascinating. And his success comes coursing from that heartline underneath Apollo there. That's a strong love of the arts, and you can see that the career line it's very sort of central, and his fate it cuts his hand in half, and it's said that those with a fate line that does this, and this is on his left hand, is someone who doesn't have a choice about their destiny. They can't. It's written for them in the stars, so to speak. And then the last thing I want to mention here is something I noticed when I looked at his palms originally, and that's this little flick here coming in, and you can see that it's by the shadow, it's quite a strong travel line, and it comes in and it points towards the lifeline at the exact age that he died, and he died abroad, obviously filming, and it points, his lifeline. It's quite abrupt. It's quite an abrupt end, and it's just a massive, coincidence that travel points towards where the lifeline ends, just so suddenly, at the age of mid to late 60s, which is the age he died. So it's just, for me, it just sort of that was a kind of a telling sign. But I don't like to. I know this is the second time I've done this now, but generally speaking, I don't do this, and that's because it's harmful. Telling someone. It's also extremely difficult to be accurate with this kind of thing, and the signs aren't generally there until it's time, if that makes sense, until you're approaching the time, because, as I say, the lines show you a view down the road, and they kind of say, well, this is what's going to happen if you keep going the way you're going, and it's the future is ever changing because our circumstances in the present are ever changing. So when it comes to, this is really telling of us, of just a view down the road, because, well, this was taken not long before his death, and it just sort of seemed, as I say, his fate was sort of predetermined. But I think that's often the case with those who have such strong careers and ambitions. So that about wraps up today. Thanks for watching, and please, comment and let me know if you've got any suggestions on who you want me to do next week. And subscribe, like, share, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.